Hello, everyone. Welcome to York Universe, the astronomy and astrophysics radio podcast, written and presented by the students, faculty, alumni, and friends of York University. You'll find us now wherever podcasts are distributed. I'll be one of your hosts this evening. I'm Julie Tomei, and I am joined by Maheen Hemani, as well as a couple special guests we'll introduce a little later. We are broadcasting live from the Allan Carswell Observatory, located at York University in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. York Universe broadcasts live every Monday night at 9 p.m. local Toronto time or Tuesday morning at 1 a.m. Universal Coordinated Time. On YouTube at York U Observatory in concert with our online public viewing program run by the Observatory team. Hello, Observatory team. To navigate to the live show or find out more, you can check out our website at www.yorku.ca/science/observatory. And there you can follow the links to OPV for online public viewing. And then you can join the live chat on YouTube. If you have any questions or comments, you have on our past shows, or if you have suggestions for future topics, please send us an email at observe@yorku.ca. You can also connect with us on the socials. You can find us on Instagram at York U Observatory, on PixelFed at Allan I Carswell Observatory, and on Facebook at Allan I Carswell Obs. All of our programs are free, but if you would like to make a donation, please head over to our website, www.yorku.ca/science/observatory. We will be monitoring the chat room for questions and to post content. The current weather is cloudy, possibly raining. I don't know. I haven't checked. Not good weather for telescopes and observing. So we will be doing archival images in the OPV this evening. Hey, Maheen, how's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm really looking forward to today's show, especially because we have some guests joining us, and I think that the topic they are going to be covering is really interesting, so people should definitely like stick around. I just want to say that. Um, how have you been? It's been a while since we've done this together.
It has been a while. I've been good. Not this past week, but the week before was up in Killarney for my week as astronomer in residence. And it was lovely. I had a great
Wow.
time. Um, it seems to be the way that when I'm up there, I find all the gremlins in the tech. So I got to spend, my a few it's almost like my scheduled hour of troubleshooting with Bruce Waters over the phone, but that's always lovely because he's lovely. But the weather held
Sorry
off
to
for
interrupt,
yeah.
Julie. As one of the special guests, Robin Metcalf, I also bring the gremlins with me to Killarney, and I have also had those late night conversations with Bruce Waters from the observatory there. So it's not just you, I promise.
Okay, it's not just me. I feel better.
The Killarney
Yeah.
gremlins.
Yes, Killarney Gremlins. So, folks, that was Robin Metcalf. She will be joining us shortly to talk about an interesting event and popping in whenever she feels like popping in, which she is very welcome to do. Yeah, so I had a great week. The weather held off more or less for my programs.
Hmm.
Like there were clouds, but it wasn't clouded or rained out. It was like we got to start observing the meteor shower and got to
Yeah.
observe it for 45 minutes before the clouds and a few claps of thunder made us pack everything up. That
What
sort of
what was
thing.
that like? Is
Um,
that
it,
for like were there a lot of people?
there were a lot of people.
I
We
can
we did a
imagine.
beach observing session, so we were down on the
Mm,
beach on George Lake,
mhm.
and uh, the meteorites were pretty much going through like the Big Dipper for the
Oh
most
my
bit. Not the
goodness.
meteorites, sorry, the meteors. I'm going to use proper
Right,
terminology. And so that
right.
was right over the lake.
Hmm.
I, of course, had my back to the right part of the sky because I was talking to other people. So every now and then, everyone would go, "Whoa!" and be like, "What?" Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
what were the reactions like? People call out when they see stuff?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there was at least one that was one of those like Perseids that just like hang around for a few
Super bright that
moments
everyone
after it's
sees.
gone through.
Yeah,
And like, even though we ended early, they'd seen that one. It's like one guy
yes.
was like, "Well, that made my night. I don't even care that there
Yeah,
are clouds. I got to see that."
it
What
delivers.
So
time
That's
in
so
the
cool.
night, what time in the night would these observing sessions be? Like, would people join in even if this was like later in the night?
they start at 10, the night
Oh.
observing programs.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, people join in, especially like the beach. We had quite a few people. I'm not sure, like maybe 50-ish people. And then the
Oh, that's
Saturday we did the
amazing.
night observing session. We had over 100 people. Like
Wow.
Oh,
people will
wow.
come
And
to a telescope.
kids
Yeah,
for the
kids.
showers, were there kids?
Yeah, yeah. Even
Oh,
like a
that's
little
fantastic.
guy. I had my green laser. He had a question at the end. Was like, "Is it hot?" I'm like, no, I can shine it onto your hand. Yeah, he was really cute.
That's very cool. Amazing experience.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So I'm doing great. How are you, Maheen?
I am doing wonderful. I mean, I have personally been enjoying the rainy days as well because summer I like, but I also like as we transition into fall, but then the astronomer in me starts to miss clear skies, and I'm really wishing for clear skies for the upcoming lunar eclipse that we have on the
Mhm.
night of August 27th, which people should definitely look out for because you don't need fancy equipment to see these eclipses and you should be able to see moon a little bit red. So the night of August 27th through 28th, like mark those in your calendar.
Nice. Yes, mark that in your calendar. It's a partial, which is fine. Uh, yeah, lunar eclipses are cool, and I do love that you can just go outside. Oh, it's like almost okay. It's a partial, but just barely a partial. There's going to
Yeah,
be
because
at
it's
peak
like a
just a
deep,
tiny bit.
yeah, because I think it's 93% coverage, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that's pretty much a total eclipse.
yeah.
Um,
That too
yeah,
after
lunar
like the
eclipses
solar
are
eclipse that just went by.
yes. And I was up at Killarney for the solar eclipse. I
Wow.
think it was just like 17% or something. Like that is definitely a very partial. But
Mm-hmm.
I did open up the small dome and look at it. Um, just me and my family because we didn't schedule a program for then because we scheduled the program for later that same night
Mm-hmm.
for the meteors. But
Nice.
yeah, folks, it looks like mid eclipse is this is in universal time 4:13 minus 4 hours, so
Yes, it's starting
midnight.
at yeah, it's starting at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on August
Okay.
27th. It ends at 1:52 a.m. on August 28th, with the deepest part being at 12:13 a.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
not even
midnight.
that. Like, I have set alarms and gotten up at 2 in the morning to go
Yeah,
spend 5 minutes looking at the moon. So midnight's not bad at all, actually.
definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, people need to see this.
Um, all right. Shall we get into our This Week in Space and Astronomy history?
Yes, definitely.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so I'm going to be starting us off with our first astronomy history item, and I actually want to talk about Fred Hoyle, who was a British cosmologist and mathematician whose death anniversary was just a few days ago on 21st of August. He was the son of a wool merchant and was born in June of 1915 in Bingley, Yorkshire, UK. He studied mathematics on full scholarship at the University of Cambridge and attained a BA in mathematics in the year 1936. In 1939, only a few years later, he was elected to a fellowship at St. John's College, Cambridge, for his work on improving Fermi's theory of beta decay. Around this time, he also wrote papers with physicist Raymond Littleton on accretion and stellar evolution, and this was sort of the time where his focus started to shift towards astrophysics. His great contributions to astronomy actually began from spare time discussions with Thomas Gould and Hermann Bondi, people you may have heard of because they've also made some great contributions to physics and astronomy. And these conversations led to their collaboration and resulted in the formulation of the steady state theory of the universe, which is a cosmological theory. And I'm kind of going to give a little bit of a hint of what this is as we go along. The ideas that were put forth by Bondi and Gould are considered to be more philosophical. In contrast, Hoyle suggested a more of a concrete translation of these ideas by introducing a negative pressure C field into Einstein's field equations, which was meant to preserve the universe's matter density as it continues to expand. So the theory essentially opposed the hypothesis of the universe's beginning being marked with an explosion called the Big Bang, which is something you may have heard of because it is still the leading theory today, and astronomers and physicists talk a lot about this as being the start of the universe. The steady state theory, instead of going for an explosion, proposes more of a continuously expanding universe with no clear beginning and a continuous matter creation for preservation of average density of the universe. Because as it continues to expand, the total matter will reduce, and we need the density to sort of be preserved. And so the theory suggests that as the universe expands, the matter continues to be created. Now, this remained a serious contender to the Big Bang for almost 15 years until the discovery of the cosmic microwave background, also known as CMB, which favored the Big Bang. Hoyle, however, remained loyal to the steady state theory for a long time and even introduced further changes to it to account for these new observations. But further data continued to disprove the steady state hypothesis. And Hoyle's further work indirectly led to his contributions to our understanding of Big Bang nucleosynthesis, because he explained the formation of heavy elements in the universe following the Big Bang. And it also led to an influential paper called The Synthesis of Elements in Stars. So, although he was only trying to explain how these heavy elements came about in the universe, he indirectly led to supporting the Big Bang in a way and helping us understand how these elements were created right after the Big Bang. And in 1945, Hoyle started as a lecturer in mathematics at Cambridge and eventually became the Plumian Professor in Astronomy and Experimental Philosophy. He also founded the Institute of Theoretical Astronomy at Cambridge in 1967, and also visited the US numerous times. So, although he was based in the UK, he was in US a lot. And during this time, he collaborated with many physicists. For example, at Princeton University, he modeled the evolution of low mass stars with a physicist named Martin Schwarzschild. Out of his research contributions, um, he was also very active in popularizing science to the public. So he was sort of what we call today a science communicator. Some of his early published work was part of a series of broadcast lectures in 1950 called The Nature of the Universe, which formed the groundwork of his popular science texts, such as A Decade of Decision, Man and Materialism, and Of Men and Galaxies, I'm sorry, which are a few examples of his many writings. He also published his first novel, which is known as The Black Cloud, in the year 1957, and became a fellow of the Royal Society. His novel was about an alien intelligence embodied in a cloud of interstellar gas. And it was so widely accepted and successful among people that it gained the status of a classic book in science fiction. And after this, he did a little formal research and held honorary research professorships at the University of Manchester and University College Cardiff. Alongside his science fiction writings, he also developed two television series with TV producer and author John Elliott, and these were called A for Andromeda and The Andromeda Breakthrough, and both were created in the year 1962. He also worked in the United States at the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena as a visiting associate professor of physics in 1963 and at Cornell University in New York with a visiting professorship for 6 years in the 1970s. Outside of his normal science fiction, he also specifically targeted children, and I thought that this was very cute that he collaborated with his son Geoffrey in doing so, and his goal was to incite scientific curiosity in children from a young age with his work. And much of his research has not necessarily been proven, yet it has led scientists to interesting directions of inquiry when it comes to understanding the universe. And his contributions to the theory of nucleosynthesis has aided in understanding the nature of stars, as well as his efforts in the dissemination of science have brought studies in cosmology as well as astrophysics to the public, which I think is very important. And he died on August 21st, 2001 in England after a life that was rich in intellectual curiosity, growth, and contributions to the world.
There are so many things that I did not know about Fred Hoyle.
Me too. Well done, Maheen. I did not know that he wrote science fiction. And
Right?
as you were talking, I looked up the Black Cloud, and also, as you said, he wrote a son with his. Sorry, he wrote a book with his son called The Fifth Planet.
Hmm.
That looks really interesting.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to read The Black Cloud when I kind of read what it was about. I had not heard about it either.
I kind of want to go see if I can find a recording of these Nature of the Universe lectures.
Yeah.
I think it would be great fun. Um, I'd also be interested in like taking a look at some of his science communication, like
Hmm.
very early science communication. Well, maybe not very early, but early-ish science communication compared to now. Um,
Yeah, I definitely appreciate when I see professors in the older times taking part in science communication because they were kind of the trailblazers or people who started it, kind of, because it wasn't, media wasn't as popular as it is today, you know? Like science communication comes with being a scientist today, but I think in the past it wasn't as much in terms of being open to the public. It was more like, oh, we write papers for other scientists.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
that's such an interesting point because you're right. Like there wasn't as much of an audience for it back then. And so it's interesting to wonder what would motivate someone like Fred Hoyle to even feel the need to engage with the public, right? Like he didn't have to, it wasn't a thing back then. So obviously he felt compelled to do that. And that's really interesting.
Yeah. I'm wondering if there, like, I bet you there was an audience, but it was
Right.
more of a like, oh no, we don't talk to the plebes.
Yeah, interesting.
Because like there's definitely a long tradition of like, Christmas lectures at the Royal Hall or whatever, like the
Yeah,
name,
like for sure
the
there's
Royal
always, of
Institute
course,
or
there's always
whatever.
been. Yeah, there's always been people out there that I'm, have wondered about astronomy and the universe and would love to hear from the people that actually study it. But back then there was no, no one had to do it. And as we three know, who are science communicators, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it's a craft to have to explain, scientific concepts in ways that people with absolutely no background can understand. And so what would motivate someone to do that when they didn't have to? I just think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Cool. And also, yeah, I did a double take when I saw that he died in 2001. That means when I learned about Fred Hoyle, he was still alive. And I just when scientists were mentioned in classes, the assumption was always long dead.
Right. Actually, Julie, when you and I used to play softball together, Fred Hoyle was still alive.
Yeah.
For what were we called? Not the Infrared Sox. We were the Comets.
The Comets. Yeah.
Right.
Nice. All right. Let's move on to my contribution for this week in astronomy and space history. We are moving to the 22nd of August, 1834, with the birth of Samuel Pierpont Langley. Langley was an American aviation pioneer, astronomer, and physicist. He invented the bolometer, more on that later, and was the third secretary of the Smithsonian Institute and a professor of astronomy at the University of Pittsburgh, where he was the director of the Allegheny Observatory. Well, let's rewind back. He was born in Roxbury, Boston, and attended Boston Latin School and graduated from English High School of Boston. After graduating high school, he became an assistant at the Harvard College Observatory before moving on to the U.S. Naval Academy as a professor of mathematics. But really, he was there to restore the Academy's observatory. He became the director of the Allegheny Observatory in 1867, as well as being a professor of astronomy at the University of Pittsburgh, which was then known as the Western University of Pennsylvania. The Allegheny Observatory was in utter disarray when he became the director. Broken equipment, no library, building needed repairs. He got some help from a friend, William Thaw Sr., who was an industrial leader, and with his help, improved the equipment, the building, built new instruments. And one of these instruments was used to accurately measure the time, like when the sun crosses the meridian. And this was at a time where we're starting to get railroads, cities need, clocks that are accurate, so people can show up to catch the train on time. And so one of the ways that he raised money for the observatory was to distribute these signals of accurate time to cities and railroads. And this system that he devised was called the Allegheny Time System and transmitted the signals via telegraph lines. This funded the observatory for some time until the U.S. Naval Observatory started sending the signals in 1883 and basically put the private time signal people out of business. What did he do with his observatory? He studied the sun. He had a background in drafting, so he made drawings of solar phenomena. As mentioned, he became the third secretary of the Smithsonian Institution. That was in 1887. And he founded the Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory. I mentioned the bolometer. He invented this in 1880, and it's used to measure radiant heat and is capable of detecting a change of temperature of less than 1/100,000th of degrees Celsius. It was used in many ways, one of which was by Svante Arrhenius to make the first calculations of the greenhouse effect. He did pioneering work on airplanes, and you people may be familiar with his name because the NASA Langley Research Center was named after him. That's where all the airplane research was being done during the Second World War. Anyone who's seen Hidden Figures may be familiar with that center, because that's where all those lovely ladies were working. He designed this plane called the Aerodrome, that was successful in certain ways. And the Smithsonian put it on display with some, let's say, less than accurate signage, which set off a feud between the institution and Orville Wright. He was awarded many honors throughout his career. In 1905, he had a stroke in November and moved to Aiken, South Carolina to recover. But unfortunately, he had a second stroke in February of 1906 and died February 27th. Many things have been named after him, as I mentioned, the NASA Langley Research Center, and also the Langley unit, which expresses the rate of solar radiation received by Earth. If you're curious as to what the measurement, like what the Langley unit breaks down to, it's one thermodynamic calorie, thermochemical calorie per square centimeter.
Wow, he definitely had a very eventful life. Like he worked in so many different directions. Like he worked as a director of the observatory, and then he was distributing time to raise money using the telescope there, and then he also worked on airplanes. Sometimes I wonder if the way people lived in the past, that their time was different, because how can they do so many different things?
They weren't doom
Very
scrolling.
interesting. Yeah, exactly. Much less distractions.
Yeah. I was also very amazed by the distribution of time to raise money. That also doesn't sound very real.
Oh, but it totally is. I know. I was like, wait, what? Let me read some more about this. And like, yeah. I guess like we get so used to like, yeah, I know what time it is. I just look at my phone.
Hmm.
Like I can't remember the last time I had to set a clock except the one on the stove when the power goes out, right? Like time change used to be an ordeal because you had to go around the house and like reset every clock. Now we just kind of take it for granted because it lives in our pocket.
Yeah.
But that wasn't always the case. And like, for the vast majority of human history, like what the exact time on the clock was didn't matter, wasn't a thing, right? It was just
Hmm.
like, yeah, I'll come over in the morning. I'll see you at sundown.
Yeah. Do you, by any chance, like know if this, like when this time system kind of ended, when people like sort of completely stopped using Langley, Langley's instrument?
It would have been in the 1880s when the US Naval Observatory started doing the time signal.
Ah,
Um, and I don't, I'm wondering because like I know up until, and I'm maybe one of you can correct me on this, but I feel like they only just recently stopped doing the 1 o'clock time signal on CBC radio. Like it used to be at 1 o'clock, an announcement
I
would come
remember
on
that
and be
deep voice,
like,
the long dash after the something something signals went p.m., right?
Exactly, 1 p.m. Yeah. And I don't think they do that anymore, but
No,
I
I don't
think
think
it
so.
stopped sometime in like the last 5 years or something like that.
Very
Um,
interesting.
oh, apparently Tatum says the CBC still does that. Maybe it was maybe it was the British one, or it was like the shipping forecast. I don't know. There's something that was like only recently stopped on one of like the national broadcasters. But yeah, it's I also feel like there used to be a phone line you could call to get the time signal.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And now it's just, our cell towers tell us.
Yeah, kind of like how you could also, I think you can still do this, but it was more prominently done before where people would call a number to ask for numbers for things.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, call the operator to find the number.
Yeah.
Now we have the internet. All right, folks. You are listening to York Universe. We are broadcasting live from the Allan Carswell Observatory located at York University in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. You can head over to www.yorku.ca/science/observatory for chat, questions, content. Tonight, you are listening to Judy Tomei and Maheen Hamani with special guest Robin Metcalf, as well as second special guest, Victoria Di Giovanni. So, Robin, what do you and Victoria have to tell us about tonight?
Sure. So, thanks, Julie. I'll just start by introducing both of us. I'm an astronomy prof here at York University. I've been teaching here for over 25 years. And I also do quite a bit of public outreach in order to connect people with the beauty of the night sky and to teach them how to value it. Victoria, before
Mhm.
we get into how we met and this program that we're going to talk about, can you say a bit about your job and your research?
Absolutely. First off, thank you so much for the invite here. Just hearing you guys talk about astronomy and the history piece and everything, like it's a treat for me. So I just want to, really acknowledge you guys. And again, thank you so much for the invite to be here tonight. Yeah, so I work at Corlucci Hospice Vaughan. I am a music therapist. I'm also a grief counselor. So in that role, I'm able to support people in the hospice who are residents in the hospice at bedside. I do one-on-one counseling in a grief capacity, grief support capacity. I also run some grief support groups. And in addition to that, I am also currently doing my PhD at Wilfrid Laurier University in music therapy. And I'm investigating how personalized musical artifacts that can be original songs that are written, that can be heartbeat song recordings, which is something that I offer at the hospice, how those musical artifacts aid in the grieving process. So I am working with surviving family members and friends and yeah, interviewing them and just kind of trying to track their usage of these musical pieces and seeing how they can impact their grieving experience. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Wow. Thank you so much, Victoria.
Mhm.
I think it's so fascinating. And I know that our audience right now is wondering what this
What is this
fascinating
connection?
guest has to do with astronomy. So we'll
Yeah.
get into that. And it
Yeah.
begins a few months ago
Yes.
when I received a really interesting email from Victoria, who I didn't know at the time. And Victoria asked if I would be interested in collaborating on a program in which astronomy is used as a way for people to cope with grief over the loss of loved ones.
Yeah.
And I thought this was such a unique and beautiful connection. I know people who find comfort in the night sky owing to connections that they've made with people they've lost. I have a friend, just as one example, a friend who inherited a telescope from their brother after the brother passed away. And so observing the sky with the telescope became a way for my friend to feel connected to his brother.
Mhm.
And of course, throughout human history, there have been many civilizations that associate celestial phenomena with people that have come before them. Again, just one example here in Canada, there are Indigenous peoples who have associated the Northern Lights with the spirits of their ancestors. And so when they see the aurora, they take comfort in the feeling that these spirits are all around them. So when I received Victoria's email, I was so pleased to hear that someone felt that this connection was worth sharing with others and that it might help people cope with grief. And what I learned from Victoria is that this idea came to her owing to a philosophy about coping with grief that's called continuing bonds.
Hmm.
And this, it really resonated with me as a healthy way of dealing with loss. And so I'd love it if Victoria, if you could tell us more about that
Hmm.
and also how it led to your idea of developing
Yes.
an astronomy themed program for the
Yes.
hospice.
Yeah. So maybe just like a little bit of a crash course of just grief theory and just kind of how our understanding of the grieving experience has evolved. For the most part, it has been quite isolated and closed off in that, um, there's kind of been those parameters of uh, grief should really only last a year. You kind of have that year of support, and then eventually the idea is kind of like move on, right? Like let's like life goes on sort of mentality. And again, it's been kind of encouraged that there should be somewhat of like a severed connection, and that uh, the relationship that you had, that was something that was in the past, and in order to move forward in a healthy way, you must recognize that that is something that was once was, and now there are no more. Therefore, you need to, again, that idea of moving on, right? But research has shown us, again, huge evolution that has taken place from like maybe the Freudian understanding, in the 40s to then you have the five stages of grief, which kind of took shape in the 60s. The five stages really was centered more around those with a terminal illness, and then somehow it kind of evolved into like a grief space. But I would say probably in the 90s is when we've kind of gotten this understanding of the tasks of mourning, which is a very empowered approach that people can take to be proactive in their grief. It's not just kind of passive stages that you experience, like depression, anger, bargaining, etc. And then that also evolves into continuing bonds, which took shape in like the mid 90s. Continuing bonds tells us that it is actually very healthy to have a continued relationship with the people that we have lost. If we can have an enduring connection with them, then we can still have an integrated relationship with them in our life. So we are moving forward with them. We're not, um, again, that phrase of moving on, right? That in order to be healthy moving forward, that you must sever that connection. Continuing bonds actually tells us that no, we can integrate them, and that the relationship transforms. It takes a new shape. It's not a physical relationship anymore, but we can have maybe a spiritual connection, or in this space, perhaps maybe like a scientific undertone to that connection, right? So it's really, really encouraging people to maintain a relationship with their person. Um,
It's
yeah.
so beautiful.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think it's
so
so great that it's been evolving, right? Because it's way more supportive.
yeah, do you want to say a bit about how it took you
Mhm.
to the astronomy space?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I am not immune to loss and grief. Like, everyone else will experience at some point in their life some type of loss. And in my own loss experience, I found that I had the questions specifically with consciousness, to be quite honest. I was very, very curious about what does the science say about consciousness after death. And I was familiar with certain theories like energy can't be created nor destroyed, right? Like that was a very popular theory that I was familiar with. And I myself, for my own navigating my own grief, was really trying to find scientific answers, to be quite honest. So I would go down these rabbit holes, and I would find really, really interesting facts about how much we don't know about consciousness.
Mhm.
I think when I came across the scientific fact of how we are made of stardust. Like that is correct, right? I want to make sure that I'm
Yes,
accurately
yes.
100%.
saying that. Yeah, right. Like that I found very intriguing. And I myself had named a star after somebody that I lost. So and I had that
Mhm.
experience um, about a year before making this connection that I had my experience naming a star. We are made of stardust. So I'm like,
Yes.
maybe something like this will actually resonate with the service users that I work with. So I put together a handout for one of the grief support groups that I run, and basically it was kind of organized with like the scientific theory and how that connects to the grief experience. So one of them was like quantum entanglement, and I did my best to kind of in a digestible way, summarize quantum entanglement, and then like right below that, have a connection to how that can impact how we view what connection can look like, and yeah, that's kind of how this
Um,
took shape. So it kind of evolved from there. And then thinking back to my own star naming experience, um, it just it was very domino effect. And then I was like, let's start
yeah,
sending some
yeah,
emails and let's see if we can do some sort of like astronomy, star naming, stargazing collaboration. And I'm so
yes.
grateful that Robin responded. And I think this is going
Yeah,
to be an annual thing.
I
it
jumped
was
all
very,
over
very,
it.
yeah, it was great.
So then, okay, so talking about the actual program that you
Hmm.
conceived of, it was in two parts.
Yeah.
For the first part, what we did was I visited the hospice and I gave a little lecture.
Yeah.
And after that, the guests were given the opportunity to choose celestial bodies to associate with their loved ones. And then the following week, on August 12th, which was the peak of the Perseids meteor shower, we
Mhm.
met again outside at night at a beautiful spot by the McMichael Gallery in Kleinburg. And a wonderful colleague of mine named Bruce Waters, who we mentioned earlier on in the show, he's been doing astronomy outreach for decades. And so Bruce took the guests on a tour of the night sky.
Mhm.
And Victoria, can you tell us like what that event looked like and what
Mhm.
Bruce talked about?
Yeah, so we were on the grounds of McMichael Art Gallery, and they were so gracious to turn off all the lights, which super added to the visibility of the sky. And the awesome Bruce Waters did his thing. He had pieces of a meteor that he passed around for people to touch. He was also sharing some facts about the universe, about stars. He had a very powerful flashlight that could kind of cut through the night sky, and he was pointing out constellations. So the first half was a little bit that educational piece, very hands-on and engaging. And then the second half, he was able to previously input everyone's coordinates of their stars that they had named the previous week, and people were able to see their stars in real time through his telescope. And that was just so awesome for people because for many people, that is the first time that they were in the presence of such like technology. It wasn't a telescope that maybe everybody has access to. It was robotic sounding and was very, very intriguing, hooked up to his laptop showing these images. And then as the night continued, the sky got a little bit more clear because it was a little bit of a cloudier day earlier, and we got to catch some shooting stars, which was really exciting. And for some people, that was the first time that they caught a shooting star.
Big reactions.
Sorry, say that again?
Yeah, people were calling out stuff. It was very
Oh,
cool.
yes. Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. It was wonderful.
And did you get a like what was the reaction of your guests
Mhm.
when they left and the kind of feedback you received?
Yeah, in real time, it was just so much warmth, so much gratitude. Again, people had expressed that they had never had an opportunity like this before. I had also sent out evaluation forms following the event to get feedback from people, and people were sharing the, again, warmest feedback. People talking about how now when they look up to the night sky, they think of their person. I had one person say that they felt so inspired that they stayed up in their backyard longer than because the evening ended at 11 p.m. and that they stayed in their backyard longer to just try to catch more shooting stars. Just really
I
great
love
feedback
that.
about being in a community with fellow grievers. So people
Mhm.
felt very comfortable, very supported, that they could talk about their person and not feel self-conscious about that and all the emotions that might come with that. So I think it was very, very positive. Yeah, there was nothing
That's
but great
so,
feedback that I heard from people.
yeah, that's so wonderful. And so let's talk more about the star naming thing.
Hmm.
Um, so one of the really interesting features of this event is that Victoria introduced the guests to a star naming website called Starical. There are many of these, but that was the one that she chose.
Yeah.
And this is a website in which the user can choose a star and name it after someone.
Hmm.
And what I liked about the app that Victoria chose is that, first of all, it's free, as these apps should be. And second of all, the site it's very honest and upfront with the user about the fact that no one can officially name a star. The only organization that has the authority to name a celestial body is the International Astronomical Union, or the IAU. So that's the organization that officially demoted Pluto from a planet, and they're the only organization that can do those kinds of things.
Hmm.
So when you log into the website, that message is front and center. You really can't miss it. Whereas there are other star naming sites that can be a bit deceptive about that. Like maybe that information is in a tiny disclaimer and it's easy to miss. So, what the more honest sites like Starical are offering you is that they maintain their own catalog of star names requested by their users, and they'll guarantee that the star that you've selected and named is uniquely yours within their catalog only.
Hmm.
And so if you log into the site will remember the star that you named. And some of these websites might show you how to find the star, or they'll tell you interesting facts about the star or whatever. But the problem with a site that promises unique star naming is that, of course, all the brightest stars, the naked eye stars, are typically taken first. And that's why Bruce had to use a telescope to show Victoria's guests their stars. And I thought at first that this kind of takes away from the value of the night sky as a place to make connections, because if you can't see your star with the naked eye, then how is looking at the sky going to enable you to make that connection? And so I had a really interesting discussion with Victoria about this. And I expressed to her that I didn't understand the value of a star name being uniquely reserved for an individual person, because we often associate places or things with loved ones that we have to share with others, right? Like there might be a tree or a park bench or a particular beach or a restaurant which you associate with a loved one because maybe you met them there or you spent time there together.
Hmm.
And of course, there might be 1,000 other people who have also associated that place for their loved one. And that's okay, right? It doesn't take away from our ability to find comfort with that place when we go there and feel connected to someone we've lost. And so I shared that with Victoria, and I suggested that going forward, she think about guiding her guests to choose whatever object they want. But Victoria had a very different perspective about this, which I
Hmm.
thought was so interesting. And it speaks to why Victoria is so wonderfully good at her job, because she has this very unique and very empathetic way of looking at things. And so, Victoria, can you say more about
Hmm.
why you feel that unique star naming can be
Yeah.
especially meaningful for continuing bonds?
Yes, and you know what, even hearing you talk about this and using the word unique, I think there's a lot of weight and a lot of value in that unique element, even though it's not visible to the naked eye. Unique meaning that the individual was unique. There was only one person of like there's only one of each of us ever, right? So there's that piece of how singular and unique our people are. And I feel like having that be reflected in a star is actually very meaningful because they know that within that massive database, that one star that has been claimed with that person's name is uniquely theirs. So just because it isn't visible to the naked eye, with the help of the Stellarium app, which people also got instructions on how to use the app. The coordinates are put into the app in their phone, and then they are able to track that star whenever they want, and they can see a much clearer image of the star on the app. And the way that the app works, it guides your hand, with directions so that you can actually pinpoint the direction where the star is. I hadn't received any feedback from people saying that they were bothered by not being able to visibly see the star with their naked eye. I think there truly is
Mhm.
something about that unique element, knowing that, we are all unique beings, and them having a singular, unique star that is tethered to that person, I think trumps the ability of physically being able to see it with the naked eye.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And when we talked about it earlier, you had also, I thought, said something about how that there's some comfort in the idea that you look up at the sky and you can't see your star, but
Yeah.
then you look it up in stellarium and there it is. Even though
Yeah.
you can't necessarily see it, it's
Yeah.
still there.
Yes.
And so there's that
Yes. Yes.
yeah, idea that maybe your loved one is not so accessible, but
Hmm.
with just a little bit of effort that you can
Hmm.
you can still kind of make that
Yeah.
connection.
There's lots of layers, man. There's lots of layers as to
Hmm.
why this is it's a beautiful element to it. I think
Yeah. And
yeah,
so
yeah.
personal, like everyone
Hmm.
takes it in their own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you, based on the positive feedback you've received, it sounds like you want to run this again in the
Hmm.
future.
Yeah.
How do you see this program evolving going forward?
Yeah, so I think that the hospice was very excited by the turnout that this program brought. For this round, this really was kind of like a pilot project, was very grassroots. But I think next year, because of how well it went this year, I think that our very talented events team is gonna have more of a leading role in the second run of this. And they're so talented and have such great visions that I feel like this is going to be a much bigger event. Like I think I definitely foresee that week one still being more intimate, where we can have our presentation, we will have the naming aspect, but for the stargazing, I feel like they are getting excited with how much bigger it can be. So I'm very
You had
much
a
looking
great
forward.
turnout.
Oh, it was such a great turnout. And it was
Yeah, and
kids, it was like everybody, it was family, friends. It was
it was
awesome.
wonderful. And yes, your event coordinators, they did such a beautiful job with
Hmm.
like the popcorn and oh,
Yes,
it was just so
yes.
wonderful.
The glow sticks, like they just all these little
Oh
details,
yeah.
yeah,
It was a beautiful evening.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, well, Julie and Maheen, I'm so sorry. We took more time than you probably were anticipated, but Victoria, I just wanted to thank you so much for sharing this program with us and sharing the idea that the night sky can be a source of comfort to those
Hmm.
who are dealing with loss.
Yeah,
And I really want to thank you personally for reaching out to me about this and for what I've learned from you and for giving me the opportunity to use my knowledge of this guy in such a meaningful way. I really,
oh,
really
man.
enjoyed this collaboration.
That means a lot to me. I have to also, I need to shout out, at the time was one of our students who had been a student of yours and took one of your classes and recommended you. So I have to give a shout out to Asma for putting your name
Oh,
on
I
our
didn't even know
radar.
that.
Yeah. And I have to give a shout out to Providence, who she was the one who initially sent that email because we all kind of were trying to find ways to contact the
Right.
right people. So I really want to shout out Asma, Providence, and everybody on the team has been so supportive, so exciting to work on something like this together. So yeah, honestly, the pleasure has been ours. This has absolutely exceeded my expectations, and the fact that we're already talking about doing it again next year excites me so much.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, Julie and Mahim, over to you. Thank you for
First of
having
all,
us on the
Robin,
show.
you do not need to apologize for taking up quote too much time. That was lovely. Victoria, thank you for the work that you do. Um,
Yeah.
I my mother passed away last fall, and um it through everything leading up to that, the compassion and the caring that we experienced from people, um in the healthcare system, was amazing, having this sort of thing available uh, must have been so wonderful for the people that you're working with.
Thank you, Julie. Oh, that means a lot. That really, really means a lot. It so much of this is community, and I feel it when I hear you guys talk, and the gift that we have in creating programs and ways to support the community. I think it's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's good. I think it's good for people to have deep connections with the sky, right?
Hmm.
As Robin said, it's part of the work that we do to reestablish these connections between people and what's above, and
Yeah.
taking comfort in the sky as opposed to feeling small and scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I also really appreciated this conversation. I am personally, I studied astronomy for my undergrad, but I have also always been very interested in psychology and
Mm-hmm.
philosophy of psychology. So to hear your work and understanding the impact of musical instruments and music in helping people with grief, and also the event that you set up where you kind of combined the two, like astronomy and then its impact on people psychologically. I thought that that was really beautiful.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you so much. Again, such a pleasure to be here, and I am very, very grateful.
All right. Well, thank you both. Maheen, I think we might be able to squeeze in one bit of news.
All right. Are we gonna talk about Astrofair?
Oh, never mind. We're not going to squeeze in one bit of news. We'll talk about Astrofair. Thank you
Yes.
so much for the reminder. Yes, Astrofair coming up Saturday. What's going to happen?
All right. So, everybody that is listening, this is sort of the last York Universe before Astro Fair. So you just have like a few days now to get your tickets. So there's this urgency, and so you should probably go get it now because it gives you access to booths and activities and telescopes. It's going to take place on August 29th, 2026. So this Saturday from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. You will have the opportunity to walk through the solar system setup that we have. There are sundials that you can look at, and you'll also be able to engage with a variety of science-based activities and games. So you can expect activities like a 4K digital planetarium. So it's basically being set up by Astronomy in Action. We also have the Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory model, which is sort of like a model of the actual Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory, and a demo to 3D print high quality designs for telescopes by the company called 10th Telescopes. So from what I've heard, you can get like a free 3D printed design if you visit their booth. There are also free henna tattoos if you're interested in that, of like stars and um, astronomy related objects that you can get. And this is thanks to the astronomy club at York University. So we have a lot of different people joining us. There's also going to be the Dunlap Institute from the University of Toronto. So if you're interested in chatting with them before the upcoming school year, this is a great opportunity to kind of visit. And of course, this is a very family-friendly event. All activities are suitable for ages 5 and up. Of course, there can be younger, but every child needs to be accompanied by an adult, obviously. But it's a great opportunity to kind of have everyone be curious about science and astronomy as we head into the new school year next month. So highly recommended grabbing your tickets. If you're interested, you can go to yorku.ca/science/observatory/astrofair to buy your tickets. And one ticket gives you access to all of these activities for free, essentially.
Yeah. We will note that the tickets are not free. It's the one event that is not free from the observatory. And the reason for that is that it is the observatory's fundraiser. The observatory works on a tight budget. And if we want to keep being able to provide free programming, we do need a little bit of funds. And so Elena, well, those who listen to this podcast regularly will be familiar with Dr. Elena Hyde, who is the observatory director, and she had this idea a couple years ago to pull together all the folks who do astronomy in Toronto and have a big event. So it's definitely worthwhile. In my humble opinion, just that ice cube model makes it all worthwhile. That thing was so cool. All right, folks. Sorry, did you have something to add, Maheen?
No, I was just going to urge everyone one last time, please go get the tickets. You're going to have a wonderful time. And if you're there, I'm looking forward to seeing you all.
Amazing. All right, everyone. You've been listening to York Universe, the astronomy and astrophysics program written and presented by the students, faculty, alumni, and friends of York University. Your hosts this evening have been Ji Tomei and Maheen Hemani, with special guests Robin Metcalf and Victoria DiGiovanni. You can always connect with us on socials. Website is www.yorku.ca/science/observatory. Thank you so much for tuning in to York Universe, Clear Skies, and have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.